down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
What's going on, Savvy Investors? This is your friend, Steve VanCauwenbergh. Hey! I'm so glad you tuned in. I got a lot of great podcasts coming ahead. Found an accountant. Well, I've known this accountant for a long time, been just kicking it with her. Lately, she's working in an office next to mine, and we talk about entrepreneur, and we talk about direct and indirect costs, and I was like, whoa, Gloria, let's do a podcast together. And she was like, yeah. I was like, okay. So that's coming up. If you got any questions on accounting, man, this would be a good time to email me, text me, whatever, and let me get that ball rolling for you. But that's not what I'm talking about today. That's just up in the future. Hopefully you've enjoyed the last podcast. I've had some folks just say, hey, man, it's been really good. Appreciate it. To this day, I don't know what this is doing or going or where I'm doing it, but just an opportunity to share the love. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for wonderful people, mentors and friends that just give you advice and encouragement. And that's what I really want this to be. You know, my main goal was to inspire you, build a relationship with you in some form or fashion. But man, just to get the nuggets, to get the ball rolling in your life. If you have a great success story, hey, you heard something on the podcast and you got you motivated. My boy, Kenny LeBlanc, called me the other day. Something I said on the podcast impacted him and made him get out of his chair and get something done. I was like, man, that's awesome. I appreciate you filling my cup with that encouragement. So not only that you need to encourage me, your boy, Steve VanCauwenbergh, the Savvy Somebody, you need to encourage somebody else. There's a realtor out there. There's a banker out there. You need to do it. There's even a friend of mine in the middle of an acquisition, and he felt like he couldn't do it. And I was like, just typing out 5 ways that you can raise money: private money, hard money, industrial money. There's several ways to do something. You know, we're being trained as children to do it one way or the right way, or we have to be educated. You're bad if you're blue collar, or you're bad if you ask for advice. You're not smart enough, or you're bad if you don't know the answers. You're bad if you don't raise your hand. Come on, ladies and gents, raise your hand, ask that question, and get the process or the situation or whatever it is solved. And I had a great session today with my homeboy. And I love working with entrepreneurs. Straight up, doesn't even own any real estate, but he's a multimillionaire or millionaire, rolling on the multimillionaire, buying another business. And I'm just excited to see where he came from and where he's going. He's telling me that he's going to Europe for a cruise. I'm like, man, just not a long time ago. He was in the Mick of Mire, and now he's booked a cruise to Rome. I mean, come on. Is it possible through endeavors of real estate and entrepreneur? It is. Is it possible through real estate? It is. Is it possible as an attorney? It is. You got to work smarter, not harder, and leverage the relationships that you have. Leverage the radio show. What knowledge that you could learn from the radio show, the Savvy Show, right? And you can go share it with somebody else. And it's just interesting. I even talked to a realtor today, just trying to build a relationship. I was just up front. You know, I'm looking to develop relationships with people. You know, this is the niche that I feel I can. If someone can't close and they need to close in a short amount of time, boom, I'm the guy you want to call. You know, if it's an off-market deal and it doesn't work, boom, I'm the guy you want to call. And so then I was on the phone with the realtor, this brand new realtor, trying to teach them the game. And, let's talk about some deals. We ran through some deals, some deals that she had under contract with other investors. And I was like, ooh, I wouldn't pay $150 for that. But let me tell you, I would pay $130. And so let's run through the numbers. This other investor has it under contract for $150 in Yukon. Good for you. And, hey, I'm telling you, these pictures, this popcorn ceiling, this ripped out dishwasher and no stove and appliances, and it's a minimum of $15,000. So if someone bought it for 150. I'm trying to think that they're going to have at least 20 in it. That's at 170. And what are you telling me the house is worth 180? You see what I'm saying? Those numbers don't work for me. And she's like, yeah, they're for a California buyer. Okay. Well, and she knew that the seller was getting a deal. And so I said, hey, but I'm the guy with the backup bid. All right. So I'm going to be the backup bidder. So if you have a deal you can't close, or, these are my numbers. If it makes sense to you, wonderful. If it doesn't, it's okay. I went and looked at a deal the other day in Edmond, and it's crazy what's going on out there. It's a 2-bed. It's skinny, and, it will sell for $135 all day. I mean, $125 was the comps in the neighborhood, but it's in Edmond. It's in walking distance to the college. And the folks lived in there for 10 years. They really haven't done much to the property. It needs a little makeover, a minimum of 10. And so I made a $110,000 offer. And that's what the folks bought the house for 10 years ago. And, they think they're going to get some payday. And listen, you can put it on the MLS tomorrow and you probably will sell it. But you as an investor, you've got to stick to your numbers, right? I mean, it was a 3-tab roof. It was a package unit AC, HVAC, and the add-on to an add-on to an add-on. Hey, it's okay, but it's broken up, and it can be an issue. There's some light termite damage, and there's just some issues you're going to deal with. And, I know you're excited to go buy assets, and I'm telling you, there's investors buying these units for $135, and it's too skinny. And so why is it too skinny? I need to buy a house, and it will work on a 30-year mortgage. It will work. You putting 30% down or 20% down, but that's not real estate investing for the long term. You got to buy it right. And so I offered 110. I really want to buy the asset. It's in Edmond. It's in my zone. It's in what I'm trying to do. It's with my progression. But you got to hold to your guns and you got to move on. And that's just the life of the game of real estate. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today is the real life hustle. Yep. Of a real estate investor. I call this real life drama, real life hustle for the real estate investor. And so I wrote this a couple of weeks ago because bombs were popping off and I've disappeared for a couple of weeks because I had to get back into the trenches. So we're just going to roll through what really goes on in the life of a real estate investor. Number one of my houses caught on fire. Yep. Hi. I could smile now, but 2 weeks ago when I wrote this down, I was hot like fire. I was bummed, and this is how it went down. The tenant, which is a tenant buyer, which is also known as a contract for deed, which gets real sticky with the insurance, right? And apparently this gal was cooking, fell asleep, grease fire on her stove by the Lord. The firefighter came and no one got hurt. All right. Amen. Power to it. You thought I was going to say like the house didn't burn down, but still. And these great firefighters of Midwest City, much love to you. They came in, they ripped the stove out, threw it outside, and removed the area around it with the drywall. They didn't put any water in there, and they just cut it up. See, that's great news because, they did as least damage as possible. Most real fires, they get totaled out because it's drenched with water. Water causes mold. La-da-da-da-da-da-da. But see, it sounds cool, but it's just a bad call you want to receive on my Monday morning management meeting. Hey, one of the houses fire burned down. Oh, shucks. And then the first thing you think of is insurance. My premiums are going to go up. Nobody wants a fire claim. But that's the reason why you have insurance, okay, is to sleep at night so you don't have these kind of problems. But long story short, I'm going to get to the point here. It's complicated, and it's complicated with the tenant living in it. It's complicated that this tenant wanted to have a claim. It's complicated, but the insurance is in the LLC's name, aka my name. The tenant has been paying insurance through escrow because I sold it to her. They don't have a place to stay. They are forcing me to do a claim. And here's the deal. This is a 600 square foot 2-bedroom house And the damage is not extensive, right? They just pulled out the stove. Boom. You got 500 to 1,000. They did rip out the drywall. And then you got to, and then there's a bunch of other scenarios you got to deal with, right? What about the ductwork? So, yep, you got to replace the ductwork. Yep, you got to replace or paint these certain things, and you got to get rid of the smoke damage. And so then you got to deal with the property manager. How do they handle it? Legality wise, because it's a sensitive situation. And then you got the contractor, and then the contractor pricing, and then you got to deal with fire damage, and then making a claim, dealing with an adjuster, and then putting it all back together. Oh snap! And maintain the tenant buyer at the same time. Welcome to the world of real estate investing. So 23 years, never had a fire at this magnitude. And I had to put the time in. That's why I disappeared for a while. I had to read the insurance policy. I had to deal with an awesome insurance adjuster. I had to deal with an awesome insurance agent to figure all this out. Should I make a claim? Is it big enough to make a claim? If I make a claim, what's going to happen to my insurance moving forward? And I learned a tremendous amount of how to asset protect, structure my LLCs from here on in. How do I handle my policies? Where should I put my policies? And again, I can't give you advice because these are kind of legal stuff. If I tell you to do something and it doesn't work for you, and this is a disclaimer, hey, I'm just a real estate investor. I'm not giving you advice. I'm just giving you my pain and some options. So whatever you take from this radio show, hey, you got to use it on your own discretion, at your own drama. But I have learned a tremendous amount about insurance, actual cash value, replace all these things that we know we should learn, but we put them on the back burner. Pun, none intended, burning on the back burner. You hear me? But I've learned a lot. I learned a lot of how to structure my new acquisitions. I learned a lot of stupid mistakes that I made and having so many assets in one LLC and another. These things that you've heard about, that you know about, man, it's a time to clean it up. It's time to clean up house. So if that's you and you want to learn asset protection and you want to grow together and have some accountability and be homeboys or homeboy, let me know, because I am in the middle of restructuring all of my LLCs, entity structures, trying to figure out how could I have not had this claim and how it wouldn't affect all these other assets, right? I mean, it's pretty simple, but there's some complication to it, some complexity. I had to call my accountant. I had to figure out with Superstar, how do I structure this? What happens if I transfer it to another LLC? To get it out of this EIN number that affects this insurance policy. Can you feel me? Can you hear me? Can you hear the complexity of it all? So, hey, that's what it is. Real life, real estate investing. Take the time, grow and learn. If you want to learn more about that stuff, I'm in the middle of learning it. Would love to know your opinion. If you're an expert on it, holla back at me. But I'm diving in the next 3 to 6 months. I'm really cracking down on asset protection, allocation, so on and so forth. All right. Here's another one. Here's some super drama for you. So I'm in the middle of liquidating my single family assets, and I'm talking about this is going to take a 3-year project. When someone comes up with a tenant moves out, if it doesn't make these certain parameters, and let me just give you my parameters. I'm looking at least $100,000 and above, and ultimately it has to be in a great area so I can liquidate it quickly in the future. Quickie wiki in the future. So what am I doing? So I'm basically reallocating my assets. Let's just say I have a low income asset, and I got to sell 3, 4, 5, 10 of those to buy a bigger asset, let's just say a Family Dollar somewhere. That's what I'm trying to do. It sounds glamorous. It is extremely difficult and nerve-wracking. One reason is because when you sell an asset, what happens? A, you lose your cash flow. B, you're probably going to have to pay tax called recapture of depreciation. And then C, pay tax on your gains. Yes, you could do a 1031. There's a lot of variables and timing, and is it worth it, and blah, blah, blah. So it's a long process. So I decided to sell these 2-house package, and I learned a tremendous amount on it. Number one, when you have 2 houses on one lot and someone's trying to get a conventional loan, it's not zoned properly, so that deal fell through. So I have had 2 people buy this property and walk away from it. 1, because they couldn't get the right funding. 2, they didn't have enough money on the second couple. And then number 3, I got this superstar real estate investor rookie from California that moved here. And I found all this stuff out later, and I was a little nervous. I listed these property, both houses, for $225,000. And I bought these properties a long time ago as a package for $55,000. I know that sounds glamorous. I rehabbed it once, so I got $85,000 in it, and then I rehabbed it again. So I roughly have about $110,000 in the total project and the length of the loan. I've made money the whole time. And when I bought the project, the 2 houses, one is a 2-bed, 1-bath in the front, brick. The back house, which is kind of its own address, which is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with 2 ACs that I've remodeled completely. Now, that all sounds great. And, Zillow says it's worth $350,000, $400,000. It for sure needs a $50,000 rehab. I showed it to one real estate investor. He offered me $150,000. It was a reasonable offer. But, my realtor's explaining to me, hey, it's so hot. And it was. It sold. As soon as I put it on MLS, it sold. Now, it's all good. During the process, I'm like already counting the money. That's what you do when you get it under contract, which is not necessarily smart. And everything's going great. And then, busted the contract twice. Okay. And then, during that process, they did an inspection. Hey, would you put a roof on there? Sure. Now, keep in mind, my policy, and I recommend that you should do this policy, and this should definitely get the riffraff out of your life. And what this policy is, if you're selling a property, you should only do non-refundable earnest money. And that's what they do in commercial real estate, which is where I'm trying to roll right now. And you need to follow suit with that. If you're a real estate investor selling an asset to a rookie, to someone from California, from whatever the case may be, because it prevents people from trying to retrade, because it makes them think about it. So in this case, guy put down $2,000 earnest money. He couldn't close. And I was flexible. Another $1,000. I'll hold it for another 30 days because that's basically the rent that I've lost in my mind, my holding cost. And that's why you want to have a non-refundable earnest money, because you have costs associated with this acquisition. And if you these old school real estate or new school real estate investors, they come in and lock up a ton of properties with $500 earnest money that's non-refundable, and they'll tie up your property 30 or 60 days, and then they pull out. And that just happened to me on another acquisition, and I'll probably talk about that here in a minute. But it gives them a timetable. Hey, I'll give you 7 days. I'll refund your money, but after 7 days after your inspection, it's non-refundable, $0. And that happened here. So he paid the $2,000 down because that's what I required, because he offered me $211. No problem. But my counter was the earnest has to be non-refundable. He accepted, $2,000 down, boom. During the process, it needs a new roof. Okay, I'm not going to lose this deal. I normally don't do a roof, but I got a roof bid for $7,000, and I was like, it's about $2,000 higher than I would pay. But hey, I'm still in it for a great deal of profit. Now, again, at the same time, there's a lot of nuances going on here, a lot of BS, and you got to have a really good realtor on your side, regardless of the other realtor that's purchasing the property. And that's one thing I'm not a big fan of, is that you might have a really super smart realtor, but the other realtor on the other side may be a rookie and don't know what's going on and requesting certain things when the contract says as is. But that's another story. That's another day. So I'm all juiced up. I'm excited. I'm ready to sell this mother. I'm done, right? I've rehabbed it a couple times. It's been through a lot of transitions, and then I get a phone call that someone broke into the house, broke the lockbox, and moved in. Like, for real. Like, they just moved in like it was their crib. Like, hey, I'm going to move in for free. I'm going to break a lockbox. I'm going to get the key, and I'm going to move in. I'm not joking. I was like, for real? I'm closing on Friday, and on Tuesday or Monday, I get this call. And I'm like, no way. So I send my handyman. They moved in with a mattress, and they were having a blast. So they called the police. The police called me and said, hey, you want to press charges? Absolutely. Get these people out. They broke in again. I was like, oh, no, we're not going to have a problem. We got $200,000 on the line. I need to close this deal. I need to get rid of this deal. I've already been through 2 other buyers. I do not want to run off a potential close, this third buyer. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I called a couple of my homies. I'm like, what am I going to do? So what I did was, boom, the same day, went to Best Buy, had it shipped the same day shipping. I don't know if you can do that in your market. In Oklahoma City, they drove it up from a freight truck, Simply Safe alarm system. Boom, came to the crib, programmed it for $17 a month. You can get the satellite cellular hookup. It will let me know what's going on the property, breaking glass, moving sensor, window, door, whatever. So, boom, got that. Called my homeboy, Zach. I was like, yo, can I get some love? Can you meet me at this crib and we can throw up some dummy cameras? So that's another thing. And of course, if you need these links, let me know and I'll send them to you. But I got these $20 Amazon blinky lights, fake cameras, money, slapped that up on 4 corners of the property, and I just prayed. So then that was on Wednesday. So I mobilized. On Monday I got the message, or Tuesday I got the message. No, Tuesday I got the message. Tuesday I ordered the Simply Safe. Wednesday I had the ball rolling. I had it all locked up. I'm like, and here's the question I had to ask myself. Was I willing to spend $500 to save a $200,000 sale? And I think, guys, that's where you need to go. My property manager, and this is where I had a conflict, they didn't think that way. They were just, humdrum about it. And in my mind, I got $200,000 on the table. I'm not fooling around. I'm not taking no for an answer. And I'm not letting some transits come in here and live in this crib for free like it's okay on my AC bill. And I'm going to lose a $200,000 sale because they just think it's cool to break a lockbox and live for free. That's not how it rolls up in here. And, I was struggling with myself like, man, I got to learn how to program. I'm like, this is what my property manager should be doing. Why am I doing it? They're making up. You see, you feel me? I'm just so amped up, and I'm like, Steven, I had to talk myself off the ledge, and this is why I wrote this podcast. Sometimes it's for real out here, cutthroat. And I was like, I hired a handyman to go over there to clean up the house. And what's just so crazy is on Thursday, they were doing a walkthrough inspection because I blew up the realtor. I'm like, hey, man, when are these people going to come back and do a walkthrough? Because I want to make sure that nobody's in the building, and I want to let them know that, or the house, I want to let them know that there's an alarm system. And so I was up front forward with them. Hey, let them know. And I asked the realtor, do we need to let these folks know that the house has been broken into? And he's like, they're fully aware of what's going on. And I was like, okay. And I was such a panic. And then he said, hey, they're going through Thursday at noon. So at Thursday at noon, they did a walkthrough. And then at Thursday at noon, I get, at 2 o'clock, I'm watching the alarm. Did they check in? Well, they checked in at 2 o'clock on Thursday. By 3 o'clock on Thursday, now this is exactly, I'm closing Friday morning at 9 a.m. Now it's Thursday at 3 p.m. Can you sweat bullets? Because I can, because I'm still thinking 200 payday, because I'm trying to buy another asset, and I need that 200 right now for a down payment on something else, a.k.a. Family Dollar building. And I'm like, hey, this needs to happen. And they call the realtor asking for 100 things to be done. The place needs to be cleaned. There's poop in the toilet. There's a sock in the toilet. There's certain, I'm like, man, I did a walkthrough on Wednesday when I dropped this deal, the alarm system. Of course, I didn't go through the toilets. But here's the interesting thing. This realtor rockstar dude, he goes, hey, what's the most important concern? This is a great negotiating technique I'm about to start using on a regular. What's the most important things that I need to focus on that would make you happy? So this realtor, the buyer's realtor listed like 20 things. Now, some of these items they already knew about when they purchased the property because the house was already in disarray. It needs complete rehab. But, the toilets did have dirt in them already, a.k.a. it. And so it was just very interesting that now they're asking for this stuff at the last minute. But I'm telling you, it's got to have the right people on your team. My cleaning lady, this gal, I called the property manager, blew up my property manager's number. I was like, hey, this needs to happen as soon as possible. We need to make this buyer extremely happy. And boom, they mobilized. This cleaning lady, dude, I'm about to give her a gift card. I just haven't had a chance to do it. That gal jumped over there, and she brought her son. And I found out later that she's like, man, this young little child, like 3 years old, was like touching stuff, and the mom drove the kid back, waited for the husband to come home, and then went back over to the property at like 10 o'clock at night because I saw that the alarm was turned off. And this gal cleaned this whole thing so we could close at 9 o'clock on Friday. And we closed this deal. Do you believe it? It's so crazy, the stuff that you go through as a real estate investor, a.k.a. hustler. All right, so I wrote one of my notes down. I don't remember what it said. I lost 45 minutes of my life helping somebody else, and I can't remember that. I wrote this podcast a while back, but here's another one. Red line at closing. So this is number 3. It was in part of a large acquisition, and I was dispositioned. I was selling a property, and the person that I was selling this to wasn't all above board, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, what I'm trying to say, they weren't 100, and they were in cahoots with the closing people, which is very interesting. On top of that, which another thing is, there's another conflict of interest, and this was kind of a legal situation, and I was at the last edge of this closing. We're talking, it was already a day late, and I was selling this property. But this closing company at another state has this thing called the seller's affidavit. And the seller's affidavit is basically that I'm not holding the title company to anything. So whatever I sign, I'm responsible for. Whatever happened to the property from the last time, I'm responsible. And I've never been to the property. And I was like, whoa, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about an easement. I don't know anything about this. I don't know about this. I don't know what's going on in the property. And for sure, and I was kind of, my back was against the wall. And I was kind of like, man, what am I going to do on this situation? And I just had this spirit to call a real estate attorney. And bang, bang. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I called this gangster amazing real estate attorney. And I recommend $330 an hour. Sounds like a deal, because this lady came in there like the white knight and sliced and diced this seller's affidavit, a.k.a. redlined it, and punked the title people. I'm like, what? Can you do that? She's like, you can. I'm like, they can pack and walk, or they going to buy the property the way it is, or because you're not going to sign off on it. And I was like, finally, in the name of Jesus, I finally found somebody on my team. I finally found a warrior, a fighter, someone that's not going to give up. And I'm telling you, she came in, and the title people were blowing my phone up. I was in the middle of a lunch meeting, and I could tell it was a foreign number, and they kept calling me. And they weren't happy with what my attorney did to the closing documents. I mean, it was so amazing. I never knew you could do this. And I just sent these people an email. I'm saying, hey, I'm in a meeting right now. Please call my attorney. The title company calls my attorney, yells at him, BITC eaches him out, and the deal closed. I'm telling you, man, $330 an hour sounds high, but it was the best money I've ever spent in my life because I didn't have to deal with it. I leveraged someone else's skill, someone else's power, and the deal got closed. And I'm telling you, I had a lot of diarrhea moments on this transaction. And it closed. Do you believe it? It closed. And I just want you to know that you can do this game. Those little stories that are out there, and I have some more stories that somebody brought up, some other transactions that I've done a couple of years ago that I never talked about, just the hell that you go through. But one thing I just learned just recently, man, is that, or gal, is that you can get through this game. You don't have to get through this game alone. You can hire the right people, aka attorneys, coaches, counselors, advisors, accountants, and you can fight the battle. It might take a little cheddar, but it will be worth it in the long run. Not only that you're providing for somebody else, and you may not make a lot of money on that transaction, but you're going to get through life a whole lot more enjoyable instead of just going through the mick and the mire all by yourself. And just recently, I'm in another acquisition that's not as super complex, and I hired this attorney again, and she just spooned me up all the concerns and what we need to do. It's fascinating how cheap you can be that it could hurt you. Isn't that crazy? How cheap you can be and it hurts you. Don't be cheap. Let me tell you something. Go buy assets so you can pay for the service. And I got so many other stories about this just recently. Go do it. Go buy an asset. Make it happen. Have self-belief and grow as a human. And just enjoy the process of learning. It's not about becoming a millionaire, a multimillionaire. It's about the journey. Do you hear me? So if it sucks right now for you, I love the scripture says, tomorrow is a new day. Yesterday I had a bad day. I was grumpy and just felt like I was getting beat up. And then it's a new day. Look at it like that. The storms go and come. But are you going to stand firm? Are you going to fight? And let me tell you something. I'm on your side. If you need some encouragement, if you need somebody to fight for you, I don't know how much I could do for you, but I'm willing to help you and encourage you and AKA even write out a plan for you. I'm so glad you tuned in to the Savvy Radio Show. I know this was long, but hopefully it was worth it for you. If you have a question, go to savvyinvestors.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.